So the title sequence isn't running. Never mind.
False alarm. Welcome, friends. It's another Monday, and you know what time it is. This is another episode of the on.net live show. Our mission here on this show is to empower all of you, our .NET community members, to achieve more. I'm your host, Scott Addie, and I'm joined by co-hosts Luis Quintanilla and Cam Soper. We are absolutely excited today to be joined by our guest, Sebastian Leonardo Pérez. Sebastian, why don't you briefly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Sebastian. My short form, I would say that is Seba Leo Pérez, because my name is very popular in Spanish. So you will find me as this handler in every social network that you prefer. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm a software developer. I've been working in the industry for more than 10 years. So, well, I attached with .NET since Net Framework, and well, I love to be involved with the community and also to participate in this kind of events. So, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate.
You're very welcome, and thank you for volunteering to join the show and share your expertise. My understanding today, we're going to talk about building a game with .NET and Azure OpenAI. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a kind of experiment that I'm actually starting. I mean, it's very recent, so I want to share my experience creating this. This is a very simple project, and well, I want to share with you and with all the community, and of course, invite everyone who wants to participate, contribute, and give me feedback on this project to grow and make it better.
Yeah, I'd say let's jump right into it.
Sure. Well, I'll start at first talking very short about me, but not about me, but where you can find me and what can we do together. I'm Microsoft MVP in two categories, in developer technologies and also in Microsoft Azure. I'm with Clippy in the picture, as you can see. Friend of
So Sebastian, how is Clippy enjoying his retirement?
Yeah, he's very concerned about OpenAI and the chatbots, but well, he's doing fine. I mean, he's very happy, as you can see in the picture. So, well, he's planning what he's going to do right now, but well, he's fine. We can say he's fine. Also, well, I own a community in Buenos Aires, a .NET community that is called NetVires. This is the logo in the left. We have a YouTube channel where you can find content there, but we do events in Spanish. So, well, if you can speak Spanish, if you are interested in participate, well, we would appreciate a lot every contribution to the community. And also, I own I can say this is going to disappear too, because I own an event that is called Xamarin Assemble, but you know that Xamarin is not here anymore. So, well, we are planning to rebrand this event. I think that we are going to create something more universal for .NET, not only mobile. So, well, there is a lot of content related with Xamarin. I know that maybe it's a little bit old there, but you can find a lot of content there. So, to start and give an introduction from where this idea is coming from, like 1 month ago, in one of the live streamings that we were doing in NetVires, I invited another MVP in AI that is called Paulo, and we were talking about how is AI impacting right now. This is in Spanish, but I will translate for everyone. The first attribute, it says that the inversion in AI projects is double in budget that it was last year. These numbers are from last year, I mean 2023, not this year, but I think that this year is bigger. The second item, it says that the half of the organizations has something related with AI right now. And the third item, it says that 70% of the employees in every company related with software, they are ready to start using AI in some place in whatever they are doing. So I think that, well, AI is here. Is not new what I'm saying, but it's something that for the people that were in the industry for many years, we saw a lot of times this kind of new technologies coming and appearing and changing everything. For example, some years ago, the mobile devices as the smartphones, they changed everything. I mean, the way that we interact with the applications right now is totally different since we have the smartphones. We had to prepare for that, but in this case, we are very close to be prepared. So the story is different, and I started to think that would be great for everyone, mostly developers, to start to understand how to use this kind of technology. So I noticed that for the developers, there is like, I wouldn't say a problem, but let's say that is a problem, that most of the current examples that you will find out in the repositories and in the documentations are chat assistants that are excellent. And I think that they will apply for most of the applications that you usually use. But I know it's not something that I will enjoy to develop every time. I mean, you set up a chat assistance and that's all. It's not like funny or something that is challenging for me. So that was a problem for me. I would say, okay, I'm going to create something, but I want it to be funny, challenging. I don't know. So that is the first thing I noticed. The second one is that most of the experience that you own related with developing, with coding, is related with what you do in your daily basis. And I think that just a few of the developers right now are using AI in daily basis. Most of them are using other stuff, APIs and cloud services, but AI is actually new, and I don't think that most of them are using them. So would it be great to have some kind of project or experience that can transmit us that kind of experience that I used, for example, to have when I work in web or mobile devices every day. And the last of the items, it's very hard to be using the last release of everything. I mean, when you get used or you are starting to get used to some specific technology, there is a newer one, and it's very hard to getting used to the new stuff. So that was like a problem for me because I love .NET. And for example, when I'm getting used to .NET 7, there is .NET 8, and we will have .NET 9 in a few months. So talking about AI is even faster than that. So I really wanted to have a challenge that keep me updated every time, and every time that something new appears, I want to integrate that in my project. So that is the problem I have. So I came with an idea that is a proposal that is creating a game based on, I know, guys, that you are so young, but believe me that a few years ago, people used to play with just typing text. I mean, they have an input, you receive choices, and you have to select one specific option, and maybe you move to other round or scenario or level, or maybe you can lose there, and you have to use a lot of imagination there. So that was my original input. I was wondering if it were possible to create something related with that using AI, knowing that every time you open that adventure, it will create a new one and a different one, even using the same input. That's why I'm saying that every chapter should be created in real time. I mean, you will ask, for example, create me an adventure based on, I don't know, a castle or a cavern with dragons, something, I don't know, very fantastic. And you can ask the same a second time, and a new, totally new adventure will appear. So it was interesting to me to see if this possibility was possible. Also, the rules in the game should be configured. I would say that not all of them, but for example, if I have, I don't know, 5 minutes, I would say, okay, I can play a couple of levels, or maybe I want something very easy. I would say just to, I don't know, pass time, or maybe I want a really hard challenge to do. So that kind of rules, I want it to be configurable in my application. The other item I thought is that since the assistants are very good speaking different languages or understanding different languages and talking to you in different languages, why integrate? Why don't we integrate this feature into our game? I mean, in the past, we have games in one language, mostly in English. Right now, we have different languages, but you have to prepare the application in different languages, or to have a resource, a file having different content in different languages. But how good would it be to ask directly in that language? I mean, I can say, okay, I want to play this game in Spanish. I want to play this game in English. I want to play this game, I don't know, in Italian, in Portuguese. So, and the game is totally created as new in that language. It's something that I don't think that it does exist. And in the last item, I want to create an image based on the current situation. This is something that was not in the original plan, but since using Azure OpenAI, you have access to the image generation. I asked to myself, oh, I could create like an 8-bit image based on the current situation. So you can use your imagination, but also you can see what is going on. And well, let's see how it goes. I mean, can the image generation work together with the text generation and make sense? So, okay, this was my original challenge to accomplish. So that's where I start. So I created a repository, as you can see. The name is in Spanish, sorry, but in the README, I set everything in Spanish, but also in English, so you can check. And I said all the steps that you have to follow to run. It's very easy because it's a console application. I'm going to explain that. But well, this is the repo for the game. I started creating an empty repo, and then I decided to go for a console application. Why console application? Having ASP, Blazor, .NET MAUI, desktop applications. We have a lot of options. Why a console application? Well, at first, it's simpler and faster. I mean, this is an experiment. I kind of POC, not MVP, but most similar to a POC. I wanted to know if it was possible to perform. So, well, I went to a console application because it's perfect for experiments. And also, I used to be an instructor in .NET a lot of years ago. And I remember that in the console application, you can code being more focused in the code, but not in the general structure of the application. What I mean is, for example, if you are working in mobile, maybe you are distracted by what is going on in the screen, or with the controls, or with the events, or with the different platforms, what to configure Android, iOS. You lost some focus in what's going on in .NET. So maybe you don't write a well-formed code because you are setting up other parts of the application. And in WebSimilar, when you use, I don't know, MVC, you are creating the controllers, the services, the views, and maybe you are not focused on the C# code. So my idea was, okay, let's focus on the code and let's do it from scratch. My idea was not use any template there or any other sample in a repository. So I went from scratch. The other advantage is that everyone can run it. I mean, it's very easy to run a console application. You don't have to have a lot of performance in your computer or whatever. And the last one, this is personal, but it has that vintage spirit. I mean, when you run a console application and you play a text-based adventure, it's like traveling time a long time ago and playing the old game. So, well, that was my motivation to create a console application, or to start from that. So, what are the requirements to run this application? You need an Azure subscription. Then you have to have access to the Azure OpenAI Service. You have to ask for that. I'm going to tell you how you can do it. And, well, have .NET 8 installed. .NET 8 because I use .NET 8, but if you are using any other version, I mean, maybe a .NET 9 preview or an older version, I think that is going to work. You have to check, but I use .NET 8 for that. So this is the requirement. And, well, there is a couple of packages that I'm going to mention that I used, but they are not important right now. So are we good? Is there any question until that point?
Not yet. We do. Our friend Akash has pointed out in the chat that console apps are better for learning. I tend to agree, and I wanted to comment on that specifically. That I too would go with a console app for a situation like this, because by doing that, you're reducing the concept count, and I feel like this new wave of AI and building intelligent apps is new to a lot of .NET folks out there. Gone are the days where you have to write Python to create something like this. So again, I think this is a great choice. One other comment I wanted to make, I didn't want to interrupt you earlier. Your point about chat apps kind of taking over the demo scene in this space. I feel like I equate that to what we saw with Signal R when that first shipped. Everybody was creating chat applications, and it feels like a couple of years before we progressed beyond that. So it's getting back to this topic. I think it's cool to see a use case like this where you're building a game and using the AI capabilities.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, we are developers, and when you look for content, is as you say, we are I don't know, looking for something different, but maybe it's quite new, or maybe it's the most popular use case, but we mostly find this kind of projects. Okay. Well, to start, this is I know that you have other, and I invite everyone to look to previous shows that you have made talking about the service. So I'm not going to be long on this, but just to introduce the service, if there is someone new. The OpenAI service, the service is a service that provides AI as a service, as the name says. But well, it's an API that provides you the capabilities of the OpenAI models. So you have generative models there, image generation, chat generation. The chat is very diverse. I mean, you can create summaries on a long text. You can ask for questions. You can. I talking about being an instructor. I created a lot of quizzes for my students using ChatGPT, and I had to review the content because sometimes some questions are, I don't know, not as correct as I think, but it's quite fast. I mean, if I have to prepare the quiz for myself, maybe I would spend 2 hours, 1 hour, and you have a almost perfect quiz in 1 minute. So it's very useful. The configuration is very easy. You have a portal where you have all the options, and you have a playground there where you can chat. So, well, you can see other episodes where they are experimenting with that, but it's very interesting. It's very similar to other Azure services. I mean, talking about identities, permissions, how do you deploy, how you use a resource group. Everything is very similar. So if you are used to other cloud components, you are going to catch very, very fast how to use this service. And includes the most popular models. One thing in this item is, depending on the zone that you select to deploy the service, you will have a different offer for models. You don't have every model in every region, so you have to check. There is I don't have the link, but there is a specific documentation link where there is a table, and you can check which models are available in different regions. So if you are targeting to a specific model, you have to check if it is available in the region that you are deploying, and if not, you can deploy, of course, that resource in a region. Well, the content filtering, this is interesting because it sounds as good, and I think that is a good thing, the content filtering, because you don't have to worry about moderating the information that you are sending. But as we will discuss later, sometimes makes hard to manage these kind of applications, because maybe you are playing a game, I don't know, and you are fighting a monster, for example, and in the interaction, maybe some word or some phrase is or can sound kind of offensive and is filtered. So maybe for this kind of projects, is, well, it's something good. Is better than worse, but sometimes make it more difficult to integrate. We will go deeper on that later. Okay, so just 3 steps to configure the Azure OpenAI. You have the URL there. You have to ask for permission at first, because you have to explain for the purpose of why are you using, or why do you want to use the services. and it's straightforward. I mean, you complete the form, you receive the response, and then you are able to use the service. Then once you have the response, it's not immediate. You have to wait maybe a couple of days to receive the response. Once you are enabled to use the service, you, as usual with cloud services, you go to Azure OpenAI, and you can create from there a resource to use OpenAI, and then you can open the portal. I mean, from the resource itself, you can open the portal, and in the portal, you have to create a deployment. This is the 3 basic steps that you have to follow to run the game. I mean, it's not necessary to do any other configuration. In case you want to use the image generation, you have to also deploy, in this case, an image generation model as DALL-E. I recommend DALL-E 3. That is the newer one. For the chat generation, I use GPT 4.0. I'm not using any Omni features. I mean, I'm not using audio or images for that. But, well, I use that because it was the latest deployment, just for that. And I compared the responses between the GPT-4 and the GPT 3.5, and the GPT-4 worked better. So I recommend to run this game with the last version of GPT. Okay. What about the code? We are going to take a look to the code, but this is basic introduction to the code, just to consider. First of all, you have to install the SDK from Nugget. That is how it is called. Then, to create a client, you will be asked to provide an endpoint and an API key. You can retrieve that from the studio. In the playground, you have a button that it says View Code, and in that section, you have both the endpoint and the API key. And you just copy that information and put it somewhere in your project. I use an environment variable for that, and to avoid upload my information in the repository. So in case you want to use the same approach, you can follow the instructions I said in the repository. Then you can, this is optional, but you can set up how the requests are going to work. I specify 2 specific controls attributes for that. One is the max amount of tokens, and it will limit the size of the response. I mean, the higher amount of tokens, the longest response that you are going to receive. By default, I think that the value is 100, but the deployments are actually working with 800 as max token. So I kept that value in my case. To have a comparison, 1 token is like 4 characters of a word, I can say. So if in a paragraph, if you count the amount of characters, you can calculate how many tokens you will need to have a similar size response. And the temperature, it is related with the randomness of the response. The higher values are related with more random responses. I mean, the ChatGPT is like free to take more decisions, I would say. So the lower values, they are going to respond very serious, I can say. Okay. And then this is important. You have 3 kinds of messages in the component, and I mean, this is important because the interaction is very simple. You send a request and receive a response, but understanding this kind of messages is the key to interact, because the system message, you send it once, and it's the information that the client or the service needs to understand how it's going to respond. I mean, you can say respond with emojis, respond giving references, respond funny, respond serious. That's the general idea, but it's not going to receive a specific response. It's just information that the service needs to understand how to respond. And it is going to follow that information every time it responds. And then the chat is going to consist of two kinds of messages, the user messages and the assistant message. The user message is your input, and the assistant message is the service response. And this is important because you don't have a history in the conversation. And it's weird because when you use a chat assistant, you have a history. I mean, you can ask about your previous questions, and the assistant remembers what you were asking. So at first, what you will think is, okay, it is going to work like that, but you don't actually have that information. You have to, in every call that you make, you have to provide the complete history or the information that you want to be remembered by the assistant. So that's why it is important to understand the different messages, because if you want, you can provide the history, and you have to identify your messages and the responses that the assistant gave for that responses. So you define a history, and every time you make a request to the service, you provide the complete or the amount of responses that you need. And before going to the goal, the last considerations, well, as I mentioned, is totally an experiment. So I didn't follow any pattern architecture, or I followed good practices, I can say, but it's not very, I don't know, it's not following any specific pattern. The validations are not the best. I mean, there is some validations. There are some validations there, but most of them are missing. And I haven't write any test there because, well, I have very small code, no model. So, well, the logic is.
I feel like this is the type of level setting that happens when you have a friend over to your house and it's just a mess, and you don't want you don't want to clean before they come over.
Yeah. It's like that. But well, it's important to say that this, because if someone wants to use this code, has to know what is going on there, and it's working. But it's working because I'm providing the correct information. If you start playing and trying, I don't know, invalid stuff or very long text, there is a lot of ways to broke the application. So, well, that's the general idea. Well, let's see the code. I don't know if you have any questions there or something that you want to share.
We have one question, Sebastian. Let me pop it up on the screen here.
Yeah.
So I know you had a slide a few back where you were talking about tokens. I know for Azure OpenAI Service, tokens in and tokens out are some factors to look at when determining the cost of using the service. The model is another factor. Is there any free resource or environment you're aware of where, you know, our viewers out there could test drive Azure OpenAI for free?
Yes. You can use Microsoft Learn paths. You go to Microsoft Learn and look for. There is I have a resource page later when I have link, but you can look for that. And when you complete the module or we are when you are almost completing a module, you have a practice that is based in a kind of sandbox or playground where a virtual machine is provided with a specific user, and you can use the service there, and you don't have to pay for that. So it's a good way to start. I mean, it's limited, and you have to complete a specific task there, but it's a good way to start playing with that without having everything set it up.
Perfect. Thanks for answering that. Let's look at the code.
Yeah, sure. Let me share. Okay. Well, this is the code. It's very simple. I mean, let's start. Well, I created a service. It's actually not a real service. I mean, as you use in the web services, but it's very similar. I wanted to use a similar approach because maybe in the future I'm going to reuse most of the code in web or mobile. So this is the information that is provided here, the endpoint and the API key. Once you have the client, for example, this is the amount of code that you need to ask for an image to be created. You need a prompt. This is mandatory. I mean, the prompt is everything. We will discuss about that. The size of the image. Now the images are larger with DALL-E 3 because in the past were small, but you can create larger images right now. And the deployment name. And for the chat is very similar. As you can see, this is the function that I use. And every time I receive a response, I keep that information in a list. But every time the application is closed, the history is gone. So maybe in the future, we can store or do something with that information. But for now, if you are still playing the game, you can track the history. But once the application is gone, the history is gone. So it's very simple. I mean, it's quite. I did a polemic thing at the beginning because what I'm doing is once you define the language, I ask the assistant to translate to the language that you set, and then the assistant responds. I mean, this is polemic or is controversial. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but because it's not very performant. I mean, once you have the translation, maybe you have to store that values, and next time someone asks the same in the same language, you just show what is stored there because it's not changing. I mean, it's always the same text. But well, as I was playing, I was using the assistant for that. And what is funny is that sometimes you ask the same language, but the text are slightly different. For example, in Spanish, it used to change the gender of some words. For example, medium in Spanish is medio or media. It depends of the gender. So sometimes it does change a little bit. But I know that is not the best performance thing to do. The program itself is quite simple. It's like all console application. Let's see how it goes. I removed the image generation because I created a new instance of Addie a few minutes ago, and it was not working yet. But we can try it. But I prefer to do the 100% text adventure at first, and then we can try the image thing. So let's start. Let me know if the font is fine. At first, it asks to insert a language. Let's say English, as we are speaking English. All right. And in this is the most important attribute in the game, because you have to describe where the game is going to take place. Do you have any ideas, suggestions, something that we can use? Or the people in the chat, maybe?
Yeah, anybody in the chat want to throw an idea out? Give them a couple of seconds.
No problem. We can wait.
No, no one seems to be taking us up on the offer. So, what are my choices for scenarios? Give me a like a high level, like.
How is it?
Oh, thermonuclear war. There we go. That's a classic.
Nuclear war.
Mm-hmm.
Like this. Okay. Disclaimer: if it could be blocked by the service. I noticed.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Let's try it. Let's try it.
See if it takes it.
Yeah. All right. The number of rounds. This is how many stages do you want? I mean, one stage is just a multiple choice and you are done. 2 stages, you have to pass the first stage and the second stage. 3 rounds, 3 stages, and that. Let's start with 2 to be short enough. And this is the amount of choices that you have to select. 1 is correct, 2 are not correct. So let's use 3. This is the difficulty. What is interesting here is I said there like a suggestion, but you can write whatever you want. I mean, the assistant is going to understand you. So if you don't use that words, but you ultra hard, almost impossible to win or whatever you want to use, you can, because the assistant is going to follow you. So I'm going to use a suggestion, but you can play with that. Well, this is in case I'm not using the images right now. We can try it in a second game. But well, this is starting and was very fast, as you can notice. I mean, in the past, maybe you have to wait like 5 seconds for that, but it was actually very fast. Well, this is the thing. As you can see, there is an introduction. If you are good with your imagination, you can follow this adventure. And then you have 3 options that are enter the bunker, shout into the bunker, and ignore the bunker and continue walking. What, guys, do you think is the best choice?
Do we have any choices from the viewers? 1, 2, or 3?
First one gets it.
All right. Let's try. Oh. What's that?
Wow.
No,
wow.
No.
It perfectly generated an exception. That's exactly what an exception should look like.
No. But what's my bad? I asked for the image generation and it's not working yet. As you can see in the description, it says that if it was created in the last 5 minutes, it's not going to work. But well, I created like 30 minutes ago, but it's not still not working. In the one that I was using, I consumed all of the calls that I have for the layer, so I have to create a new one, and well, it took time. So it was my bad. We can try. We can try again. And I have a cheat here. You can set the language as an argument, and you don't have to specify again. Let's go in faster this time. Nuclear war. Number of round 2, 3, medium. This is going to be ignored. Okay, we have a totally, take a look. This is a totally new scenario, but with the same introduction. I mean, with the same input, we have a different adventure, totally different. So this is in the future, blah, blah, blah. We have 3 options: climb, search for underground tunnel, attempt to clear a narrow path. So let's say 1. I mean, let's go for an action. Okay, I choose the wrong option, so I lost it. All right. If you have sadly, I think that I won't be able to show the image, but if you have a DALL-E deployment working, it is prepared to open a browser and show the image based on the description. So, well, it's funny. But sometimes, as I said, maybe if it talks about nuclear war or something like that, maybe it's blocked by the service. So
a way you could potentially,
yeah,
a way they could potentially get around the image stuff is generating ASCII art, right, and having it display that as text.
Yeah. But well, something interesting I found is that you can learn with this thing. And for example, oh, I forget the run. What if I say a classroom with students learning about .NET? Let's say 2 rounds, 3 choices, very hard. Oh my God. This is going to be ignored. Well, I think that is not so hard in this time, but I mean, you can ask for a specific things in the code, and well, I tried a lot of times, and sometimes it's interesting. I mean, they describe you a scenario of an application and ask you, what would you do to, I don't know, improve the performance of your application? And you have 3 options. You can learn from this. I mean, also, this is a very generic GPT model. It's not prepared to know a lot about programming. But imagine you can fine-tune or prepare a RAG pattern to train your model to know more about one thing. You can also play, but you can learn. This is interesting. I noticing when I started playing with that. But in this case, it's very simple. I mean, which one is primary language to work with .NET? I said 2, but actually I can write my response as I want. I mean, you can go for the short version, or you can write open source, for example, limited to Windows. You can write whatever you consider the best, and the assistant is going to get the response. So that's something very, very interesting. Maybe I said classroom and students, so the GPT thought that they are children or something like that, and go for the, I don't know, for very simple questions. But if you say that you are an experienced developer and you are trying to solve and blah blah blah, it's going to challenge with more complex questions. And let's win. Which of the following is a key feature of .NET Core? No, open source. Yeah, and we won this time. All right. It's very funny. Sadly, I'm not able to show the images, but you can try it. I mean, in the repo, the code is there, and you just have to configure your deployment, and it's going to work, and it's going to open in the browser the image. And well, this is the general idea. I have a couple of slides to close, but let me know if there is any comment, question, something that you want to try here.
No questions, just overall disappointment that we didn't have COBOL as an option in the
That would be interesting. AI with COBOL. Wow. All right.
I'm looking forward to downloading this and playing this.
Sure,
Oh.
it's addictive.
One question, Sebastian. If you
Yeah.
open your CS proj file, I wanted to show folks what you're using for dependencies here.
Yeah. This one.
So here's the package on line 11. That essentially what this is doing is it's a client library that's calling out to the Azure OpenAI Services REST API. One thing I'll call out here. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, we shipped a new major release of this package. So the 2.x beta train is now available on NuGet. You'll notice some breaking changes, but overall the story there is a convergence between Azure OpenAI and OpenAI.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And yes, it's slightly different, but yeah, it's interesting to I have a couple of notes in the repo of what I want to follow with, and one of the things is to try that library.
Yeah, but again, you see there's not a whole lot needed here. It's really that Azure OpenAI package that's installed.
Hey, Scott, a friend of mine actually that I haven't seen for a while. I met him at a conference a few years back. Harold is asking, is that what the Azure Function AI extensions are using as well?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer. Luis, do you know the answer to that?
I don't, but I would suspect that they are using the current OpenAI client SDK.
By the way, I see we have a comment here. I'll pop this up on the screen. For folks wondering about what I mentioned earlier, that convergence story, this is related to our official OpenAI library for .NET, that announcement you see up on screen there. Highly recommend you give that a read.
Yeah, I want to try the vision stuff on that library, because this one doesn't have any vision interaction, but the one that you sent, it has GPT vision. So, for example, you can start playing, sending an image. This is the scenario for the game. Well, the assistant can read from the image, can understand the image, and prepare the scenario for the game. So that's something that I definitely want to try in the game.
Cool. Why don't we go over to the slides? I know you had a couple more you wanted to show.
Yeah, it's very, very, very short, but I know that we are almost on time. But well, what I learned from the experiment, one of the things is the code is important, but the prompt is everything. I mean, the code could be the best of the best and the best performance and whatever, but if the prompt is not well done, nothing is going to happen. And it's very hard. I mean, I created a prompt. It's in the project. It was very difficult to explain to the assistant how I want the game to work. I mean, I started to explain and had a lot of sentences. So I think that is a new science to study. I mean, it's a skill that we have to earn. Write very good prompts and with a few sentences. It's very hard. I started, and I think that is quite confusing. I mean, if I have to explain the same, or maybe if I send you the same prompt that I'm sending to the assistant, is not very easy to understand. So it's very important for us, the developers, to start working with the prompt engineering. It's a very valuable skill, I think. It's something that I learned from this. I mean, it's not everything related with the code that you write. Other thing is do what I say, but not what I do. Sometimes is what we were talking on the nuclear war or something like that. I mean, sometimes the response or the assistant says something that if you want to use the same output as an input, for example, in the image generation, it's not going to work. And it's like, why? Because you told me that. Why I can't use it? But well, you can't. So sometimes you have to you have to live with that. I think that the same, maybe with better prompting or better asking for specific things, or maybe you can specify, don't say anything on that or avoid using that. For example, I use the word or the phrase game over to finish the game. So the only way I know that you lose is or you reach the end of the game, or game over is there. So I ask the assistant to avoid to use game over because could be confusing but if, for example, if you ask for game over, well, I don't know what is going to happen there. But sometimes the response is not the best thing to use as an input. That's something that I learned from this. And well, this is related with the educational side of the game. When I started playing and trying different scenarios, I find that sometimes I learned. Oh, I didn't know what you are saying. So I noticed that it can be used to learn or to know more about a specific topic. This is a very popular meme that we use in our country. Like every day you have a new thing to worry about. So this is the same feeling as I have with this application. I mean, once you are getting used and you are almost completing everything that you want, there is a new release and breaks everything, or you have to all the time have to update your code. For example, the library, is something that is quite new, couple of weeks, and you have new stuff to integrate to your application. When you say, okay, I'm happy with my achievements, you have something new to integrate. So every time you have new things to try. That's something good, I can say. But well, it's for us that we were used in the past to have a more relaxed way to program. I mean, you don't have to be as updated as you need right now. It's a challenge. To me, in 1 month or less that I was working in this project, was terrible. Every week there is a new thing to try. And what's next for the application? I want to try a web application, one with ASP, one with Blazor, .NET MAUI application. So I will work on that in the future. I don't know when, because I do it in my free time. Of course, I invite anyone who wants to contribute to do it. It's open source. It's in GitHub, so you can contribute or give me feedback if you think that something can be better or you can do something in a different way. You are invited to let me know. Incorporate GPT vision and audio integration. GPT vision, as I said, for the scenario is something interesting, I think. And the audio, this will work better maybe for mobile. But well, not console application, but let's see. It's something that maybe that the story is read instead of being written. Is something that will be interesting. So anytime in the future, I will have these updates. Well, these are the resources. The first one is this show. I recommend to see. some of the episodes that are very interesting. You talked before about GPT, how to set up the service and that stuff. So I recommend definitely. And for example, last show was about code performance, was very interesting. So I recommend this show. Microsoft Learn, as someone asked in the chat, you can see some of the paths that are very well explained, and you can practice there. And there is a repository in .NET with a lot of projects that you can check. Most of them are chat assistants, I have to say that, but anyways, it's a good way to see how it works. And well, that's all. Thank you very much. You can find me in any network with that handle, and you can follow my community in Buenos Aires if you want more content in Spanish, but well, it's content on .NET. And of course, I'm open to receive any kind of feedback, suggestion, contribution, or whatever in the repository.
Thank you very much. I've been watching the chat here. There are a couple questions I wanted to address before we end today. The very first one, it's asking, hey, when will we see a stable release of that Azure AI.OpenAI package that was being used today? The 2.0 stable release is expected in early fall. That's about as specific as I can get right now. Other question from our friend Janiscu7, any other OpenAI libraries for .NET on the works? Nothing that I'm aware of. Do be aware we do offer the semantic kernel, which could be used for similar use cases. Do check that out if you find that Azure OpenAI or the official OpenAI library don't quite get you what you want. The other thing I wanted to close out today, just be aware, we will return next week, the 1st, July 1st, so before Independence holiday here in the States. We will be joined by guest Pedro Jesus, who will talk to us about working with custom controls in .NET MAUI. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in today. Hope you learned something new, and thanks again to Sebastian.
Thank you.
Bye.